Welcome into Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613. From the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk, I'm your host, Landon Knight, alongside Craig Sager and Hayden Gilbert. And we have a wonderful show ahead today. We're just going to take some time to highlight our Georgia High School Hall of Fame, get the opportunity to hear some from former Hall of Famers, some of our board members. And with that, we have this event quickly approaching this upcoming Saturday, October 25th at the College Football Hall of Fame. And you can get more information for this event on the Score ATL website today. Go ahead and buy your tickets. And Craig, this morning we're going to take some time breaking down some Hall of Famers who are being inducted in this year's class. But I just want to ask, what makes this class so special?
I think it's just the fact that it's year 4. The board has been able to look at guys that have gotten in, survey the state on who we've missed, talk to a lot of people that have been watching this Hall of Fame grow and see maybe where are we overlooking it. So I feel like this year we have some names that we honestly didn't have on our radar at first, but once we've been able to look at them, create the bios, I feel like it's really made the Hall of Fame stronger.
Yeah, I think when you look at this group of players, the first year was very much of what you've done after high school. And then the next 2 years were kind of a mixture of guys that had great high school careers, guys that had great college and pro careers. And now we're getting to these guys that really are kind of the under-the-radar guys. You know, your Steve Walsh's, your Harrison Martins, your offensive linemen that went to have great NFL careers, had great college careers and great high school careers, but are just kind of some of these under-the-radar guys that you don't think about nearly as much as some of the Pro Football Hall of Famers and College Football Hall of Famers that are in this Hall of Fame.
And looking ahead to our game of the week this week, it is going to be Dunwoody versus Chamblee. That is going to be at North DeKalb Stadium this upcoming Friday night at 8 p.m. But you can tune in here starting at 7:30 for pregame coverage. And stick around that night. We're going to have scores around the state even after the game. But Craig, I want to ask, this event is going to be really special leading into our Hall of Fame. What can people expect at the atmosphere of this matchup?
This is a great rivalry, and this really does have that feel of a neighborhood backyard football game. These kids know each other, the parents know each other, the families know each other, the alumni do. They share the same business community. They both live approximately together in the same spot. So I feel like it's going to have that neighborhood feel that makes this rivalry in particular different than some of the other ones, where this one real have that suburban feel.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this game, they're all from North DeKalb. These communities are so intertwined. They play at the same stadium. I mean, North DeKalb Stadium isn't just home to Chamblee. It's also home to Dunwoody and a few other schools. It's going to be really exciting. I think this is a big rivalry. This is probably going to be for a playoff spot. The loser may not get into the playoffs. So it's really exciting to see this game unfold.
And looking ahead, we also have our Georgia Elite Classic Showcase coming up. That will be November 2nd from 11 to 1 p.m. at Blessed Trinity Catholic School. And you can reserve your spot today at GeorgiaEliteClassic.com. But with that, Craig, let's go ahead and getting into breaking down some of these 2025 members who are going to be inducted this upcoming Saturday. I want to start with Carlos Rogers. When you look at his career, he has had he's had many accomplishments. He attended Butler High School in Augusta. He was on the football, basketball, and the track team. And in his senior season, he rushed for 1,332 yards, had 11 touchdowns, also posted 47 tackles and 2 interceptions. Then he went on to spend his college career with the Auburn Tigers. He was there from 2001 to 2004, started in 44 games, recorded 182 tackles and 7 interceptions, and he actually holds Auburn's career record for 40 pass deflections, which is the second in SEC history. His senior year, 2004, that was really his standout year at Auburn. He helped Auburn to a 13-0 undefeated season, won the prestigious Jim Thorpe Award as the top defensive back in college football, and earned the consensus All-American honors. Then entered the NFL draft in 2005, where he was selected 9th overall in the first round by the Washington Redskins. And he's really just been able to show so much versatility as an athlete and make an impact at the high school, collegiate, and the professional level.
Yeah, I feel like with Carlos, he's a guy that probably could have gotten in previous years, but he was added to the ballot this year and was one of the highest vote getters. So that's kind of what we've learned in year 4. Guys like that no longer overlooked. They're getting in, and he's an incredible player. I've got another one that maybe could have gotten in previously, but was new this year. That's Keith Brookin from East Coweta. We had him on the show last week. It was a pleasure to talk to him. He was a 4-year letterman at East Coweta. They had a 29-15 record during his starts there, which is pretty solid. This is a program that isn't that old in the state. He was a defensive standout, 56 solo tackles, 55 assists, and then offensively he also contributed 28 receptions, 488 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He was the Fayette County/Coweta County Offensive Player of the Year. He obviously went to Georgia Tech, had a tremendous career, set the school record for career tackles, 467. He was the 12th overall pick in the first round of the 98 draft, went to the Falcons, went to the Super Bowl that year, spent 11 seasons, and just had a phenomenal professional career, leading the league in tackles in 2003. He's in the Georgia Tech Hall of Fame and the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, Keith, we got to talk to him last week. Really cool guy. Really a forgotten era of linebackers. He's forgotten because he's not the Brian Urlachers of the world, but a really talented guy that was a multi-time All-Pro guy. Another guy that on this list is Frank Pitts. I think Frank is kind of got forgotten about a little bit because of the era he played in. He played in pre-integration. He went to Archer High School in Atlanta, not our modern Archer in Lawrenceville. Went to Southern University. I think we forget now, but these FCS level HBCUs in the 50s, 60s, 70s produced all kinds of talent. And he went there, was an all-time great for them, and then went and played 10 years in the NFL. And nowadays we are used to seeing players play 10 years in the NFL. We're used to seeing a lot of players play 15 years in the NFL. But at that time, with the physicality in the NFL, it was so impressive. He was top 20 in the NFL in receiving yards twice. He helped the Chiefs win Super Bowl IV. He had an amazing career and really was one of those guys that I think got overlooked because of the era he played in and is finally getting in.
We also have Robert Edwards being inducted into this year's class. He played at Washington County High School. Then he actually went on to play for the Georgia Bulldogs, and originally he was actually recruited as a cornerback, then switched to that running back position, and he was selected in the first round of the 1998 NFL Draft, went 18th overall by the New England Patriots, and he had quite the impact his rookie season. He rushed for over 1,100 yards in 1998. And what I think is so special about him is that he's still able to make an impact at this high school level. He actually transitioned into coaching high school football in Georgia. He's coaching at his alma mater, Washington County High School in Sandersville, Georgia.
Yep, and then I got Jack Rudolph. I'll talk about his son, Coleman Rudolph, after this. What's interesting, Jack was a first-time nominee this year, where Coleman has been on it since the inaugural year, but they're both getting in together. So he was a Grady High School graduate, now called Midtown. He led them to their first and only state title. His best season was his senior year, AJC and AP first team. He had a performance against #1 ranked North Fulton where he had 6 catches for 192 yards. Georgia Tech assistant coach Jack Griffin called it the greatest single exhibition he had seen. Went to Georgia Tech, had a great career, and then went to Valdosta High School where he was on the Wildcats coaching staff as defensive coordinator for 25 years, helping lead them to 11 state titles and 5 national championships.
Yeah, just an amazing player. Another one that's on this list, Steve Wallace, multi-time All-Pro for the 49ers, won 3 Super Bowls with them in the 80s and 90s. I think when you look at him, this is one of those guys from the heyday of DeKalb County High School football of the 80s. I mean, we're good friends with a lot of those players from there. Both of my parents, our boss, I.J. Rosenberg, all graduated from DeKalb County schools. Dave Hunter was a coach at Peachtree for a long time, the head coach for 2 years. I think you just look at his heyday of DeKalb County football, and he is one of the prime examples of that. And 2-time All-Pro, 1-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champion, 12 NFL seasons on the offensive line of the most physical era of NFL football. Just an amazing career.
We also have Sterling Sharp being inducted into this year's class. He attended Glenville High School, where he played running back, quarterback, and linebacker. He also competed in basketball and track. A very well-versed athlete. He played wide receiver at South Carolina from 1983 to 1987. and left as the school's all-time leader in receptions, 169, and receiving yards, 2,497, and had 17 receiving touchdowns. He was drafted 7th overall in the first round of the 1988 NFL Draft by the Green Bay Packers, and in his career totals, he had 595 receptions, 8,134 receiving yards, and 65 receiving touchdowns. Clearly able to put up huge numbers and make an impact early on in his professional career.
Absolutely. And then Coleman Rudolph, the son of Jack, he was at Valdosta High School. He's a 2-year starter. They went 39-4. He went to Georgia Tech following in his dad's footsteps, a 3-year starter there. He set the school's career sack record with 28.5, was drafted 36 overall for the New York Jets, and he's in the Valdosta Hall of Fame as well as the Georgia Tech Hall of Fame.
And then my last one, Harris Barton, I'm sorry. 3-time Super Bowl champion. The other side of the other offensive tackle on those 49ers teams that was the dynasty of Joe Montana and Steve Young. 12 NFL seasons, two-time second-team All-Pro, 1-time Pro Bowler, was an All-American at UNC, first-round draft pick, and had his number 67 retired by UNC after his career.
We'll be right back after this short break to hear from Jonathan Dwyer, Georgia High School Football Hall of Famer. Don't go anywhere.
Nobody wants to hear the word roaches, because who wants to admit they have roaches?
I actually found some weird roaches. I didn't know what they were. I decided to choose Breda. I reached out to them. They check in routinely. They're explaining what they're doing, so there's a lot of clarity in the process as well. I think that just speaks to the level of safety that I feel with the organization.
The facts are, roaches are everywhere in our environment, so what are you doing to keep them out of your home?
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
For a healthier future together, look to Northside Hospital.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
Man, you know how to do this?
Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
You may know Tidal Wave Auto Spa as the world's greatest car wash, but did you know Tidal Wave also has the easiest fundraiser? So easy, our mascots think they can do anything, like making the big play on the big stage. Okay, maybe just a dream, but it is a super easy fundraiser. Just sell wash tickets and watch the money come in. If your flag football team, school, church, or group needs funds, go to TidalWaveAutospa.com and get started today.
Georgia's Rome is the place to be this season. Visit our vibrant downtown. Enjoy live concerts, attend street festivals, and see Wings Over Northwest Georgia Air Show. Plus, you can enjoy a haunted tour or two and these upcoming events. Make your weekend getaway one to remember. Plan your fun now at roamgeorgia.org.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career. And by Breda Pest Management. They handle bugs and critters.
Welcome back into Georgia High School Sports Daily. We are at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk, and now we will welcome Georgia High School Football Hall of Famer Jonathan Dwyer. Coach Dwyer, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
So you were inducted into last year's class. Just talk to me about how much of an honor it is to be in the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame.
I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, it's an opportunity to represent my community. It was an opportunity to also represent Kell High School and all the, good things that Kell has done for me and, experience that with my family.
And so just elaborate on your time at Kell High School. You actually hold the record in Cobb County for rushing yards, having over 5,565 rushing yards. What was your career like here?
I mean, it was, a way of just, enjoying the process of a new school. Kell wasn't very known, and I took a pride into making sure that I made sure that everybody knew who Kell was, and that was my whole mindset of playing there. I grew up playing with the guys that I grew up with from Little League all the way up to high school. We all played together, so it was a fun, opportunity, and just trying to do the best I could to put Kell on the map and extend my future as a football player as well.
And then, Jonathan, you, of course, went to Georgia Tech, and we're seeing a lot of Georgia Tech players are already in the Hall of Fame. More are being added. You got yourself, Demarius Thomas, Calvin Johnson. Now we have Josh Nesbitt getting in this year. Let's talk about the quality of these Georgia Tech players that have been able to get into the Hall of Fame.
I call Nesbitt 9, so I'm excited for 9, and I'm excited for, his family and all the other Georgia Tech guys who are getting in. There's more guys out there that should be getting in eventually, and their time will come. Hopefully Morgan Burnett and the Roddy Joneses and, other, players that play with me as well that get the opportunity as well.
And speaking of your time at Georgia Tech, in 2008, you were named the ACC Player of the Year. Just talk to me about what made your time at Georgia Tech so special.
The guys I went to school with, I mean, we talk about it all the time. Literally, I was talking to Morgan Burnett this past weekend, and we were just talking, when kids ask us all the time, why'd you go to Georgia Tech, coach? Of all the places that you could have went to, because you had this many offers and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's the guys I played with. Those guys are my brothers. They're my family. My kids call them Uncle so-and-so, and their kids call me Uncle JD or Uncle John. And, we built this relationship through the recruiting process so that, it was like, why not we just, we all look like each other. We like being around each other. Let's go play. And let's do something at Tech that's never been done before. And that's where our whole mentality was. And, we knew that as a team with the talent that we had, if we just focused on us and not about we knew that we were going to accomplish things as a team, and we were going to accomplish things individually that we all wanted to do at the same time.
Jonathan, I want to circle back to y'all building the culture there at Kell. I think at this point we kind of forget that Kell's a pretty modern high school and that you were one of the first graduating classes, and your class and the classes before built the culture that's still there today that you're now coaching under. Just talk about that.
I think the one thing, the culture there at Kell is that we're going to run the football. We're going to have a good running back, and we're going to play quality, efficient, violent defense. And I think that's a staple that's been there since when I was there. When I came back and watched my brother play in 2012, it was this exact same thing. And it's the same way now. And I think Coach May's done a great job of reviving that culture ever since he's gotten here on campus.
And getting to coach at Kell this season, getting to go back to your alma mater and coach there, what have you seen out of players like Mooney Gibson this season?
Mooney's a talented young man. His best football is still ahead of him. He still has a lot of growth, in his game that he's still working on, from its continue to grow as a leader, continue to mature as a young man, continue to stack days at practice each and every day. So those are the things that he's working on. His talent speaks for itself. So really the only thing that we're working on is him continue to become a better person, continuing to have quality days of work, of practice in the weight room, and becoming a leader. So that's pretty much his, opportunities that's ahead of him. And it's exciting to coach great talented kids. And, a lot of the times it's not really about me coaching him as a athlete. It's just more so coaching him more so as the things off the field and the things, the character things on the field.
Then, Jonathan, I just wanted to ask about what it's like being back at Kell High School. You graduated from there and then played multiple years in the NFL and had an amazing college career. What's it just like being back home?
At first it was kind of weird, but you know, it's kind of like, you know, like just like, wow, like I'm back here. But also it was like, this is my way. You know, I know that God gave me the talent to play for a long time and give me the opportunities that he gave me. But, you know, my real gift is giving back. And I love being around young men and young women and coaching and, you know, inspiring them and trying to give them the tools that I wish someone would have gave me growing up. You know, my dad did the best that he could. He did a great job. But, you know, when you get around athletes who, you know, and coaches who have done the things that you wish that you want to do and you dream of doing, they can give you the real insight and being real honest and being the real of what the life is and what you have to expect and how you need to act and things like that.
And then, Coach Dwyer, I want to ask about this Blessed Trinity-Kell matchup this season. Kell was able to get the win 3-0. Clearly a very interesting game. What takeaways did your team take from this matchup?
That, you know, it doesn't matter how you win. A dub's a dub. And, you know, I told them this throughout the week. And, you know, I think us as a staff that it doesn't matter how we win. As long as we win, it doesn't matter. You know, it was a tough defensive game. I mean, there were two, you know, top 10 defenses playing. You know, we're playing against the number one player in the country, David Jacobs, who's, you know, looks like Myles Garrett out there. So, I mean, like, you know, we played the way we're supposed to play. We won the game. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what the score is as long as you're in the win column.
And then, Jonathan, I want to ask you just about your growth as a coach at the high school level. It's been several seasons now. What have you just learned most?
Preparation. Just from a standpoint of just like handling the day-to-day things. Like I see the things that Coach May does. It's, you know, crazy the fact that he's able to, you know, balance from his family, being a father, being also another father to these kids, helping them, helping the junior program, helping the youth program, understanding that if you want a quality program, your head coach has to be involved in everything. And then also just learning from the staff. You know, we have a very talented staff and just picking their brains, their willingness to want to teach me. And, you know, they ask me questions and I give them my answers as well. So it's always bouncing ideas off each other. And it's not really just a one-man show. We value the fact that it's all of us and we're a family as well.
Then, Jonathan, just you're playing for a regional title this week against Cambridge. Just quickly talk me through just this matchup.
It's a 5-star matchup. It's going to be a good game, and you know, can't wait to line up on Friday.
Well, again, that was Georgia High School Football Hall of Famer Jonathan Dwyer. Coach Dwyer, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hook 'em.
We'll be right back after this short break with more Georgia High School Sports Daily. Stay tuned. Welcome back into Georgia High School Sports Daily. We are at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk, and now we will welcome former Executive Director of the GHSA and Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame board member, Robin Hines. Dr. Hines, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. It's good to be here.
So, Dr. Hines, you spent many years as the Executive Director of the GHSA. Just talk to me about what your role was like in the life of high school athletes.
Well, you know, you're kind of required to be all things for athletics and fine arts in the state of Georgia, and you obviously have to have a passion for that and a passion for kids. You know, like I say, I've been at this a while, and just appreciate the opportunities that I've had, and none have been greater than being the executive director of the Georgia High School Association. It's something I never dreamed that I would be able to do, but I'm certainly glad that I did, and like it so much that I'm still staying around and on the payroll, working as a consultant and legislative liaison and those sorts of things, and whatever else Dr. Scott needs me to do. So, you know, it's critical. I think that, you know, it's such a fertile ground for learning life lessons for kids to be involved in sports and fine arts and those types of things, and just want to do all that I can do always to further that and provide those opportunities for young people.
And what does having a Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame mean for younger athletes who are able to look up to former players?
I think it's big, and I can't believe that we haven't done this before. when we first started talking about this with IJ, and and he, at that moment, I couldn't believe that we didn't have one. And to see and keep those names going and those alive, those stories and those great teams, and keep those alive, and it gives kids who are playing today, they probably don't think about it now, but as we move forward and they think about those guys that played before them that they looked up to and all that, I think it's incredible for them. I'm glad that IJ had the vision to make this happen.
Certainly, and this year it's year 4, Dr. Hines. We have 17 inductees this year that were first-time players on the ballot. So I feel like the board did a good job at kind of really spending this year to look at the guys we might have missed on before, fielding all these new nominations. What stands out to you just about this year's class?
Well, there's a lot of personal things about this class, that I like. Stan Bounds from Valdosta, he's a little ahead of me, but I remember being a kid and watching them play. And of course, I was a Thomasville kid, and he was a Valdosta guy. And, I couldn't help but like him, even though they were our absolute arch enemies. When you just look at some of the Rudolphs, for instance, Jack Rudolph, probably, I know there are a lot of great coaches and all that sort of thing, but he may be the best defensive coordinator that ever coached in high school football, and was such a big part of those Valdosta teams back in there. And to be able to grow up and seeing that and actually coaching against him, and it didn't work out good most of the time. Sometimes it did, and seeing him and his son going in at the same time, I just think is tremendous, and what an honor for that family.
And Dr. Hines, in your high school career, you played with a pretty good football player yourself that's in our Hall of Fame, a Guy McIntyre. Just talk to me about that experience.
Well, he was a great teammate. He was a tight end. He was a year behind me, and we did a whole lot of down blocks and things like that, and us working together on the line. There's never been a more fierce competitor than Guy, and it was great seeing him get into the Hall of Fame. I would love to see him get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He certainly deserves to be there. 13 years in the NFL. Just did such a great job. I think he was on 3 Super Bowl teams. Certainly a point of pride for our community, having him and William Andrews, in the Hall of Fame and being there is just quite an honor. And it's just been great being a board member, for this Hall of Fame and being a part of that. I think Craig was talking about, the board, the difficult job that it is. There's been such great football in the state of Georgia, and we're just scratching the surface. And for these guys that are getting in now, I mean, they just seem to be the best of the best, but there are more and more waiting to get in. So it's exciting. But when we do those ballots, I take a lot of time trying to figure that out and seeing who needs to be there and studying all that, talking to other people and figuring out what the best way it is to go. And I just think the board and IJ have done a super, super job of putting this together. And this class is no different than the others.
And Dr. Hines, can you just share one of your favorite memories from some of the previous Hall of Fame ceremonies?
God, Charlie Ward, when he spoke for the class, he did it so eloquently. I couldn't imagine how he got up there and spoke the way that he did. It was just tremendous. And seeing people come back, Otis Sistrunk, he was one of my heroes, back in the day. And for him to show up, and we didn't know if he was going to show up or not, but then he showed up, and then he came back the next year. That's just tremendous. And seeing those people, and Takeo Spikes coming in, and just such great players that all of us have admired, all this time, and just, but come to think about, anything that like IJ and Dave Hunter and those guys put their hands on, it's going to be first class and quality, and I'm looking forward to this weekend.
Then, Dr. Hines, I want to ask you just about South Georgia football. And Valdosta is still a great team, but they were just so dominant there for a while. Eventually, the Metro Atlanta team started to, thanks to teams like Dave Hunter's led Brookwood teams, were able to finally compete. But, I mean, how dominant was Valdosta back in the day?
They were very dominant. And, I experienced that personally. As a player and a coach, they were just so good, and of course, Wright Bazemore just was a tremendous football coach, and there are rules that are in our game now that were put in there just because he just could coach so well. It was often said that he could see all 22 positions, on that field, and the way that he coached and the way those kids played is something else. I remember as a college student at Valdosta of going to watch them at camp and play, and what they did so well was they competed every day, all the time. Of course, there were just so many kids that were out on the team, and they were just constantly. The scrimmage may last 3 or 4 hours, but there are kids constantly in there competing, and they were just great coaches. I mean, I knew all those guys, personally, certainly through in my career as coaching and all that, and they just got there and they had stability, and they knew how to win.
Again, that was former GHSA Executive Director and Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame board member, Robin Hines. Dr. Hines, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
We'll be right back after this short break with more of the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Don't go anywhere.
Customer service is everything in our industry, and one thing our clients love is when they call Breda, they get a live representative. At Breda, you get the attention you need and deserve right when you call in. Your appointment gets scheduled right then and there, and you get a specific time, no window of arrival. Our staff are your neighbors. They know what's going on in your community, and they're invested in doing it better.
Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting 6 figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
You may know Tidal Wave Auto Spa as the world's greatest car wash, but did you know Tidal Wave also has the easiest fundraiser? So easy, our mascots think they can do anything, like making the big play on the big stage. Okay, maybe just a dream, but it is a super easy fundraiser. Just sell wash tickets and watch the money come in. If your flag football team, school, church, or group needs funds, go to TidalWaveAutospa.com and get started today.
Nothing is as pure and special as high school sports in the state of Georgia. And Score Atlanta is its #1 fan. High school sports are about families, kids chasing their dreams, communities supporting their teams year in and year out, neighborhood signs, and off-season workouts when nobody's looking. It's the biggest stage that young athletes get to climb for the very first time. And Score Atlanta wants to connect your brand with Georgia high school sports in ways that have never been available before. In addition to our Georgia High School Sports Daily Show, Score Atlanta provides continuous coverage of the Georgia high school football season through its televised games, stories, and rankings. Score Atlanta puts on some of the most notable events like the Corky Cal Dave Hunter Classic, the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, and the Georgia Elite Classic. All of these elements offer sponsors exclusive opportunities and exposure. So let's talk about how you can reach millions of people who enjoy Georgia high school sports. For more information, contact Score Atlanta today.
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of battle? Will you still train like a champion in the pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrical worker. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
Welcome back into Georgia High School Sports Daily. We are at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk, and now we will welcome Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame board member Rusty Mansell. Rusty, thank you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate y'all having me.
Rusty, I have to start by saying we missed you at the game on Friday night. That trip to Athens must have started earlier than usual.
It definitely started a little bit earlier. I had a show to do Friday night, but I always miss doing my high school football, and I had to text my group. So, yeah, make sure everybody's behaving, make sure everything's in line. But be back this week. Excited for it.
So, Rusty, I want to ask about this selection process with the Hall of Fame. Just talk to me about what goes into selecting each year's class.
Oh, man, it hadn't gotten any easier. I kept thinking every year it's going to get easier because we're going to start, eventually. But it's something that we started, and with I.J. Rosenberg starting this idea and was kind of expanding on it. It really makes you understand how deep the state of Georgia is, and not just the 80s and 90s and 2000s. I mean, we're back in the 40s and 50s, and everyone that played at minority high schools and all these people that deserve this statewide recognition and this permanent recognition. It's been awesome, but I'll tell you, it's not easy. And there were some guys that didn't make it this year that could have been in the first class. So it's going to take us a while to get caught up, but it's certainly a product I'm proud of and get excited. I looked at the list this morning. I was like, man, I get to meet him and get to talk to him, and it's going to be fun, man. You look at some of these guys, you see the names here. Keith Brooken, obviously a great high school football player, Georgia Tech, playing for the Falcons. Robert Edwards, one of my really good close friends. Walt Frazier, I think everybody is excited about Walt Frazier. Isaiah Crowell was really one of the first big kids, I would say big recruits I ever got to cover back in 2011. So excited about seeing him. And, you can talk about the Cam Newtons and the Kirby Smarts and all those guys, and they speak for themselves, but it just continues to show the depth of high school football, the quality in the state of Georgia. And, we'll knock out a class, and we'll be quiet about it for a while. Next thing you know, we'll be right back into meetings and voting on this thing next spring.
And then there's two teams that are being inducted this year. That's that Valdosta 71 team and the 76 Warner Robins team. And I believe that's decided on in a board meeting. But how did these two teams get decided this year?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Recognizing teams was something that I kind of brought up. And it's one of those deals where there's a lot of teams that kind of get penalized sometimes because they were really good and had so many good players. Not everybody gets recognized. But you look at the 71 Valdosta and the 76 Warner Robins. These two teams were, from everything I understand, they were in all the rankings that were available at the time, they were unanimous national champions in everything. And these were two dominant football teams, two big-time football programs. Obviously, Valdosta history speaks for itself, but Warner Robins can put his name up against anybody there. So these two teams in particular dominated the state of Georgia. They were recognized by the people that did this back then. These were the best teams in America at those particular years. So, there was a couple lower schools that we really threw around, but the board decided as a whole, these are the first two teams to recognize, to bring them in. I'm excited we're doing this. I'm excited we waited a couple years before we introduced this. This is something I'm very excited moving forward to not only recognize individual players, but teams that meant so much to those communities, teams that meant so much to the state of Georgia. And we couldn't do it with two teams. If you didn't do 71 in Valdosta and 1976 Warner Robins, we just weren't doing it right.
And then, Rusty, this Hall of Fame is interesting because you can focus on their high school career specifically. You can look at what they did after it. You obviously know a lot about recruiting, which is kind of projecting how they'll do. But when you're making your decision in this Hall of Fame, what do you think is most important?
To me, it's impact and how and your team. So we looked at Monty Williams in particular. Monty Williams out of Commerce, he went into the class, and you look at him, and you say, okay, he didn't have the best college career, didn't have the best pro career, or didn't make it to the pros. But Monty Williams was dynamic. They won state championships when he was at Commerce. He was record setting. We we put a lot of emphasis on, number one, how did you impact your community? Number two, how good a player were you? And number three, how successful was your team? Did you win a state championship? And that means a lot to us. So there's certain variables where you have to decide and you have to kind of, separate people at times. And look, there's still some good people that should have got in the first class that we're still waiting to get in. But to me, when I vote, I want to look at how good your team was. Did you win a state championship? How much further did you play past, and what kind of impact did you have? There's a lot of variables that go in there, but we're still, to me, Craig, on those no-brainers. Like I look at Isaiah Crowell, and he was one of the most dynamic high school football players. I mean, this was the guy that would make you hold your breath out of Carver Columbus High School. You look at Cam Newton. I mean, truly, I hate to say the word, this guy's a unicorn. I mean, when you see Cam Newton in person, this guy's 6'6", and there's just not many players like that. And you look at those guys, and they're no-brainers.
And then, Rusty, I wanted to ask about the impact that being inducted is to both these players and their communities, because it is such a huge honor.
Well, I sit beside Jeff Saturday. And look, man, I'm putting a jacket on Joe Burns, and that's a guy that I became friends with. And Joe Burns, one of the greatest high school football players ever. You look at all these guys here, from around. Look at Leonard Pope, all 6'8". I look 5'8" around Leonard Pope. Here's a 6'8" tackle. There's Hudson Mason, who was an all-time record quarterback there at Lassiter High School. But he got in, obviously, for his accomplishments and starting at the University of Georgia. I sat with Jeff Saturday, who I watch on ESPN every morning. And I remember sitting there with him. He had the biggest smile on his face. And I'm talking to him, and he's like, man, this is so awesome, and coming from the state of Georgia and everything he's done. He's been a head coach. He's been one of the best NFL linemen. He does great on TV. But, man, he sat there and soaked it in. And I remember last year, we're standing there, and Charlie Ward went into the first class, which he should have. I didn't know Charlie Ward was coming back last year to hang out. This guy walks in with his jacket on like, hey, I'm here to welcome the next class. To me, that says a lot. When Charlie Ward comes up 5 or 6 hours from living there in North Florida, I believe he lives in Tallahassee, and for him to come up and just say, I'm going to be a part of this class, it truly says a lot. But this is a big deal, and I think everybody that gets this honor understands it.
Again, that was Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame board member Rusty Mansell. Rusty, thank you so much for joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing you on Saturday.
I'll see y'all on Friday. Maybe it's got a big game Friday night.
We'll be right back after this short break with more Georgia High School Sports Daily. Stay tuned. Welcome back into Georgia High School Sports Daily. We are at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk, and now we will welcome 2024 Hall of Famer Jack Pitts. Jack, thank you so much for joining us today.
It is my pleasure.
So, Jack, you played quarterback at Trinity. Just talk to me about your time here and what it was like winning the 1965 Class A championship.
It was remarkable. We had a wonderful season. We had about 26 football players and only about 13 of us played. So that 13 played everywhere and all game. So I played kickoff, punt return, punt cover, defense and offense. And we were 13-0.
And so, Jack, then you went on to play at Michigan State. What was it like playing at the collegiate level?
Well, you got to remember in 1966, it was segregated. So I'd never played with white kids. And when I got to Michigan State, my first huddle was 10 white kids. And because of the way I was trained to play quarterback, I didn't know anything different except to pat them on their butt and say, let's go. That was one big difference. The other difference was Michigan State's campus was probably as big as my hometowns in the community that I lived in. That was the second thing. The third thing it was 36,000 students. So, and there were only 300 black kids. So it was a different environment for me, but I enjoyed every bit of it.
Then, Jack, how has getting into the Hall of Fame allowed you to kind of bring awareness to what you guys were able to accomplish at Trinity High School?
I think the biggest thing is that when I came out of Trinity in 1966, none of the Southeastern Conference schools or none of the white schools in the South would recruit Negroes. And so when I came to the Hall of Fame last year and met kids who had gone, or men who had gone to Georgia Tech and Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi, I had to tell them, I said, my history says that that wasn't happening in my day. So I was very proud to meet them. I look forward to seeing them again this year.
And then you're quoted I think a couple years ago, you said you were the first black kid recruited out of Decatur. Were you aware of kind of how you were trailblazing at the time?
I had no clue. I knew that something special was happening because I knew some of the guys who had come before me, and they had all gone to black colleges or black universities. I didn't know until after it was in process that I would be the first kid from my high school to go to a major white university.
And then, Jack, I wanted to ask, you touched on it a little bit, but what is it like seeing these players now get the opportunities that you weren't given in our modern football?
Well, you got to remember, when I was coming out as a quarterback, major white coaches and major white universities thought that black guys weren't smart enough to play quarterback. I sort of broke that bubble. I was a valedictorian of my class, and I outscored most of the white kids that I was recruited with on the SAT. So they couldn't say that I wasn't smart enough. And I think that bubble was broke when I came out of high school in 1966.
And then, Jack, just what does it mean to you to have been inducted into the Hall of Fame and just be recognized for your high school career?
It's probably one of the best things that have ever happened to me in my life, for my family, for my kids, for my friends and my teammates. It honors them also, because I couldn't have done any of the things I did in high school and in football if it weren't for my teammates. So I'm very honored, and I also honor them by being selected.
And then a fun part of our Hall of Fame is we have the Hall of Fame game. Last year's the Woodward Academy against Decatur. It's a very special opportunity for you to go back there. What was the Hall of Fame game like for you?
Well, it was at Decatur High, and I played in that stadium in high school. However, my great niece goes to Woodward Academy, and she told me, we're going to stump you guys. And the first kickoff, the guy ran it all the way back. So I looked at it and I says, are you clairvoyant? So that was fun to be back at Decatur High.
And then Jack, just talk about some endeavors that you've got to do throughout your life after your football career.
Well, I've been very blessed. After football, I started playing golf and basketball. I played basketball in high school. I've had a wonderful golf career. I turned pro in 1980 after having a very successful amateur career. Professional career didn't go like I thought it should. But I'm here in Florida. I played in a tournament this past weekend, and I won that tournament. So I'm still playing golf at a very high level. I had a very good career at Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And now I have a golf tournament every July, the last Saturday in July. And we raise money for the National Kidney Foundation of Michigan, and also to do a health and wellness luncheon that I will have my first one in March of 2026. So that keeps me pretty busy now.
Jack, you had over 20 scholarship offers. Just talk about how you went to choose Michigan State.
Well, the ones that were most important to me were Wake Forest. Wake Forest was going to make me the first black quarterback in the South. And Bill Tate was the head coach there. And I just had a conversation with him, a Zoom call about 3 months ago, before he died. And he told me, he said, Jack, you were going to make my career. He said, I was going to run that Washington West Coast offense, and you were going to be perfect for it. So that was a big deal, that I was being recruited to be the first black quarterback in the South. However, when I went to Michigan State, I played basketball with some of the All-American football players who were on the 1965 National Collegiate Championship in football. They could flat out play basketball. And when we finished, Jimmy Ray, my hero, who was the quarterback of that 65 team, came over and said, "You need to be here with us." And I said to myself, these are the greatest football players in the first 100 years of college football. I need to be there with them? They told me that? I couldn't wait to tell my mom I wanted to go to Michigan State. And I have never regretted coming to Michigan State, even though I didn't get a chance to see what my football career could have been.
Well, again, that was 2024 Hall of Famer Jack Pitts. Jack, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in with us right here, and we'll be right back here tomorrow with more Georgia High School Sports Daily.
We saw some squirrels were trying to get into the attic. I hear those squirrels still scampering through because I didn't go through those services initially.
Our job is to go up there and figure out where they're getting in and trap and remove and get those unwanted guests out. But then the next big step is not just seal the entry point where the critter got in, but seal the entire roof line. The most common mistake is only sealing the entry point you see.
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know, just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
For a healthier future together, look to Northside Hospital.
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of battle? Will you still train like a champion in the pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrical worker. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
For a healthier future together, look to Northside Hospital.
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of battle? Will you still train like a champion in the pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrical worker. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.